Jojoba decides to take up javelin throwing. Why wouldn't she? So read through it, pause it if you need to. Good. So you're told that t is the time in seconds and h is the height in feet, and you're asked when will the javelin hit the ground. Boop. Well, when something hits the ground, what is the height off the ground? 0. So instead of h of t there, we can say 0. And we're asked to find for what value of t do we get 0. In other words, solve this equation. Well, bunch of ways you can do it. One, well, in this section at least, we're going to do it by factoring. Notice all the terms there are multiples of 16, but to make the leading coefficient positive, we're going to factor out a negative 16. So if we take out a negative 16, we'd be left with t squared minus 4t minus 5. That negative 16 that we pulled out will not affect the problem. So in fact, another way you could have done this is because we have an equation, you could have divided both sides by negative 16. If you had done that, you would have resulted in 0 equals t squared minus 4t minus 5. Because again, that negative 16 does not affect the problem. Factoring that, we would have t minus 5, t plus 1. Setting each factor to 0, the first factor would say t is 5, and the second factor would say t is negative 1. Well, since t is time in seconds, can time be negative? Nope. So we reject the negative 1 answer. It's extraneous. So even though negative 1 does satisfy the equation, it does not make sense. So some of these word problems, you might have extraneous answers. T equaling 5 is totally fine. So at 5 seconds, the javelin hits the ground. Let's consider a right triangle with legs measuring 2x and 3 and a hypotenuse measuring 3x plus 1. We're going to use our friend Pythagoras to figure out, oh, this is a terrible right triangle. I did it. Oh, that looks pretty good. To solve for x. So the legs of the triangle are 2x and 3. It does not matter which one you call the smaller leg or the bigger leg. We don't know what x is, so we don't know how 2x relates to 3. And you're told the hypotenuse is 3x plus 1. So you could say your A is 2x, your B is 3, and your C is 3x plus 1. So using Pythagoras, we have A squared, 2x squared, plus B squared, 3 squared, equals C squared, 3x plus 1 squared. Okay, this is an equation that we're going to have to eventually get into standard form. Before we do that, let's square it all out. 2x quantity squared makes 4x squared. 3 squared makes 9. And 3x plus 1 quantity squared makes 9x squared plus 6x plus 1. If you don't see that right away, that's fine. Then take 3x plus 1, write it next to 3x plus 1, and FOIL. You'll get the same answer. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring everything to the left-hand side. I lied. To the right-hand side, I'm going to subtract 4x. I'm going to subtract 9. Doing so gives me the equation 0 is equal to 5x squared plus 6x minus 8. This factors as 5x minus 4, x plus 2. Again, factoring by grouping. Because the leading coefficient is not a 1, so do 5 times negative 8, which is negative 40, and the factors of negative 40 that add up to 6. Setting each factor to 0, if we set 5x minus 4 equal to 0, that means x is 4/5 by adding 4 and then dividing by 5. And if we set x plus 2 to be 0, that means x is negative 2 But since x is part of the length of a triangle, if we put -2 back into our triangle, we would have negative lengths. So -2 is rejected. It's extraneous. 4/5 is fine. It's not the prettiest number, but that's okay. 4/5 satisfies the length of the triangle and also satisfies a squared plus b squared equals c squared.